Okay, so as you can kind of tell, I finished adding the rest of the buildings. If I switched over to a shaded view, I'm in. You can see I'm in the floor plan. If I switch over to a shaded view, you can obviously see the buildings a little bit more clearer with the gray. Um, and how that is. What I'm gonna do is we're kind of done now with that imported floor plan that I brought in. So I'm actually going to turn everything back on, except for that and lot lines. So I'm going to turn them on, so that now that they're there. But in this plan, I'm going to turn off the actual site plan itself. So if you ever wanted to, the site plan's still there. So if you ever wanted to, you'd have to come back. And so it's now. So I turned it off so it cleans it up a little bit. Then obviously, if you ever wanted to get it back, you would just go to Edit, import the categories, and then just turn it on, and it would come on. You're gonna have to do that for other views yourselves. I'll leave it up to you guys if you wanted it or not. But if you go to the first floor, you'll see that it's there. It's still there, so you'd probably want to turn it off for those, the other floors. Usually, I leave the site plan on like a shaded view, because a lot of times it's easier to read with the, obvious, if you switch to hidden line, sometimes it's hard to tell, between build and something else. You could do, um, what we could do is we could like make a material and then have this be like shaded for a surface pattern. Um, so actually, I could show you that right now. Actually, I'll show that in a second. Um, so that's pretty much the site. If we go to 3D, you notice that basically all the buildings that I've added in, they're really low. That's because I did not add a height to them. I just did a random like 10-foot height for every single one. I am going to leave those heights of the rest of the buildings up to you. So I've done, the main warehouse building, that height is fine. And then the height to this building, it's basically the same as those. So basically it's the rest of the building. And when you do the height, obviously, probably use Google Earth. It's the best way. But to actually change them, all you gotta do is you just click on the buildings and you see it's one entity for every single building that's, an existing building that kind of is the site around us. And then if you click on it and then hit edit in place, it opens up this. So now you can pick on each individual building separately. And if you click on one building, you can see that, you have the height. So you can just, whatever the height ends up being, you can, put in the numbers so you get the appropriate height for that building. And then once you're done, you hit finish, and it'll do that. So like I said, when you click on it the first time, they're all kind of one thing. But if you do edit in place, then you can pick on each one separately, and then adjust the heights. I believe each section for this course, there's like I think like 5 groups in each section. So maybe you kind of try to split this up evenly between the 5 groups, and then each group, maybe you'd like name these buildings like A, B, C, or D or something like that, so it's easy to recognize which one's what. And then each group finds the height for those buildings. And then kind of shares the information, so not every group is trying to find every single height for all the buildings. That may be one way to kind of reduce the time that it takes to do this. Up to you. That's up to you guys. However you want to do that. And then, like I said, for the site itself, you probably want at some point, as the semester progresses, you probably want to kind of, depending on what views you can see, probably maybe spruce up the facade so you add stuff to them. Again, that could be done here. It could be done in other programs. It could be done in Photoshop, depending on, what you're kind of more familiar with and what you're kind of better program that you're used to using. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add material to all of these, and to do that, I'm going to edit in place. I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to do a material. And I'm going to add Then I can create one, and I'm just going to call it existing buildings, and then existing buildings. Appearance, I'm not going to add anything because we really don't know what they are, so I'm just going to leave that. But for the graphics, this shaded I'm going to leave like that. For a surface pattern, I'm going to actually change this to black, and I'm going to change this to solid. Now what this is going to do is, in hidden line, when I turn it to hidden line view, in plan view, it'll turn the whole thing to, it'll turn everything to black, and it would actually would do it in, it's going to do it now, so if I change it to like hidden line, you see how it stays black. Unfortunately, it's doing it for shaded as well, and I didn't want that to happen. The reason I was trying that, because like, see, if you're in hidden line and site plan, it kind of helps you see them better, but unfortunately, it's not going to work out well. So I'm actually going to undo that and just not have a material on them. So I just did Control Z until the material is taken off. The other thing I can do, so we can get that to work, is if you click on all the buildings, I'm going to right click and then override graphics in place. So it's going to do a surface pattern. So in this instance, I'm adding a surface pattern just to this view, to those buildings. So now it's going to make all these black. But if I go to another view, they're not black. So that's another way that you can do it. And I'm going to get into that little trick probably in a later video to kind of help with the documenting and cleaning up drawings and stuff like that. But basically, again, all you do is you click on like anything that you want to show. Whether it be like a wall or all these models. Right click, override graphics by element. And then here I did a surface pattern and did black, so it fills in black. So now you can start to see the buildings a little bit more clearly. Opposed to the surrounding topography and stuff like that. But then if I switch to shaded view, it would bring those. They're still black, so again, it's kind of up to you how you want them to display. I would have to, if I do override graphics by element, if I reset it, then it would bring back the gray. So if you're ever working in site plan in a hidden line view, that's how you could get it to look black, either through the materials as I showed, or with the right click in and override graphics in view. But as I mentioned, I always try to keep the site plan in shaded view, so it's a little easier to see. And I think that's pretty much it for site. Again, I have the contours turned off. So if you ever want the contours to be turned on, the contour lines, just go to Edit Visibility in the Properties window. Click Expand Topography and turn on primary and secondary contours. And then also, if you go to the annotation category, you're going to see one that says Contour Labels. That's for the actual numbers for each contour. So you can see if you turn those on, those appear. And then if you go back and turn those back off, it's just a little bit easier when you're working to see if those are turned off. So I'm going to leave those turned off for now. And again, this only is for that view. So you turn them off here, it may not turn off. It's not going to turn off for all the other views. Like I said, I believe that's it for the site. I think you guys should be pretty much to go from there. Go back to that. Yeah, nothing else on that. Yeah, so I think, for you guys, just to finish up with finish off the buildings and put all the correct heights for all the surrounding buildings is really kind of what I left for you guys to do for the site, for probably like an immediate, something that's kind of crucial to have so you can see the scale of the surrounding area. And then, as I've said a couple of times now, as the semester goes on, you probably will add a little bit more detail to some of the sites. And, when you start to do your actual buildings here, you may start to maybe change this, these surfaces and add some grass, grass or some different areas to them. And that's what this. Even though I've created the site for you, the purpose of this actual tutorial B was so later on you'd know how to use the split surface and merge surfaces like that if you ever need to, change the surfaces themselves to add different looks to them. So that's it for this tutorial. The next tutorial will be on massings, and how to do like quick masses that we'll be using to do like solar radiation analysis and wind analysis. They could be used. What I'm going to show, I'm actually going to show kind of like two ways. One way will be to do the kiosk quickly. Another way is kind of what's needed to do energy analysis, and it's going to be more pertinent to the larger buildings. So that's it for this tutorial.